Should I move to Mexico?
No, more specifically, should you move to Mexico?
Should you move to Mexico? Because it's not. It's not going to be that way.
Hot damn, there's a lot here. It is way more diverse than we ever imagined.
Hot damn!
Damn! We want to be real with you guys. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, de Jordan.
Sí. Hey Tangerines, I don't know about you guys, but we're still feeling the excitement from yesterday's Mexico versus Germany World Cup 2018 game, I think. Still feeling it.
Mexico!
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 If you didn't check out that video already, we made one from the game, our reactions to it. We'll link to that right up here. But today we are talking about something else, something that so many of you guys have asked us in one form or another, and that is...
Should I move to Mexico?
No, more specifically, should you move to Mexico?
Should you move to Mexico?
So a lot of you guys have asked us this question because it seems like you are either considering spending a lot of time here in Mexico, maybe you want to do exactly what we're doing, or you're going to retire here or something like that. So we get this question, should I move to Mexico? Do you think I would like this place? Or can you guys go check out that? Or can you do a comparison on this city and this city? And we don't really feel that it's totally right to answer that in a few sentences, and we're going to explain why and also share some things, some advice that we think will help you make your decision. As much as we would love to answer this question individually, there's just a lot that we would be implying if we were to do that. For instance, we would be implying that you have the same tastes as us, you like doing the same activities, hanging around with the same people, you like the same weather that we do, and the list could go on and on and on. Basically, we're saying this is what we like, and if you like that too, then this is what we think. So instead of doing that, we're going to share what might be contributing to whether or not this would be, moving to Mexico would be a good thing for you.
So in this video, we're going to cover various things like culture, language, money, income,
personal preferences, things like that. That way, if you're really thinking, should I retire in Mexico? Should I move to Mexico? Should I visit Mexico for an extended period of time? Go to school here? Whatever it is, then you can make your decision, a more educated, thoughtful decision.
So the first topic we're going to talk about is money. There's a lot of people coming down here from the US or Canada that are on a fixed income, whether that be an annuity or a pension or Social Security. And you're finding that every year that money goes less and less far where you're living. Well, can you come here with the same fixed income and live a better life? Yeah, there's a lot of places where you can do that, but there's also going to be some sacrifices that need to be made. You're not going to be able to come here and live in the same type of culture. Granted, there are some places that you can do that, but they're not any cheaper than probably where you're living right now.
So I see it sort of as like you get to pick 2 out of 3 things. You can pick a very similar culture to what you're used to, for people speaking English, or somewhere that's lower cost, you'll be spending less money. You might get to pick 2 out of those 3 things. Do you prefer to be English and a similar culture? Do you prefer it to be a similar culture and less money or something like that? So, but you can't have everything. You can't really expect to think that you'll be paying less, people are going to accommodate you in English, it's going to be exactly the culture you're used to, etc.
So let's say you're going to Puerto Vallarta. You're living in Old Town Vallarta. This is going to be a place where everyone speaks English. You don't even need to learn how to say hello in Spanish. But if you're living right there where all the touristy stuff happens, it's not going to be any cheaper than where you're moving from.
When we visited there, we thought it was just as comparable as to where we were living in Phoenix, Arizona, which, yes, has a lower cost of living than a place like New York or
Toronto or Seattle.
Seattle, yeah, somewhere like that, sure. So if you're living in one of those places, it might be less, but for us it was like, I mean, yeah, we're just paying the same that we would pay in Arizona, and we have a little budget to work with, so that wasn't really ideal for us.
Granted, you can go to Puerto Vallarta and live in a cheaper part of town, but it's going to be a part of town where not everyone knows English, and you don't have the brand new buildings and all the stuff that you may be used to. You can come here and live a much better life on a fixed price or on a fixed income. Like, we're living in Guadalajara right now, and it costs us approximately 1/3 of what it costs us to live in Phoenix. So yes, our money does go a lot further here.
And the next thing, and we've already touched on this a little bit obviously, is language. There are places in Mexico where if you just think there's no way I can learn Spanish, I've tried and I can't, or I'm too old for this, which yes, we've heard that before and we totally get it. Why the Tusky? I lost my train of thought.
Guys, you cannot bring cute dogs around when Maddie's trying to talk. She gets totally distracted.
Completely lost my train of thought. But anyway, back to Spanish. Before we came here, we did about a year and a half of daily Spanish lessons so that we would be more prepared, able to communicate with the locals, at least have a taste of it, be able to start doing that. And even with that, we felt like, oh my gosh, we know nothing. We know nothing compared to what we need to know to get by here. So yeah, there are places that you can go to where you probably don't need that much Spanish, like Lake Chapala area. There's a huge retirement community, so they cater to that, or sort of like the coastal beach towns, touristy parts.
Then again, if you're right in the midst of that, then the prices go way up.
Exactly, so that kind of goes back to like the 2 out of 3 thing. If you want somewhere with super low prices, you might have to learn Spanish, and then not expect that people will accommodate you in that way. So regarding language, there's something else that you need to think about, and that is, are you going to be okay struggling and being uncomfortable for whatever it might take, a year or 2 years or a few months, who knows, when you don't know the language? Because we've been here now for going on 5 months, and every day there are still interactions that we struggle with like crazy and that are super embarrassing or frustrating or whatever the situation might be, or we just feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, this is difficult. So, but that's something we knew coming into this, and we are okay with that because we do want to learn the language and we want to be able to communicate with locals and everything that comes with that. But if you're not okay with that, then Mexico might not be for you, or maybe certain parts of Mexico might not be for you.
Something to consider is, have you traveled to a country where you didn't know the language, where you had to get by with those daily interactions without knowing how to say it and without having anyone there to say it for you?
And the last thing regarding Spanish and speaking a different languages, we think if you're the type of person that has a lot of friends where you live, you are energized by talking with people and being around groups of people, and you go somewhere without being fluent in Spanish, you might be setting yourself up to be unhappy, because it's pretty damn difficult to make friends when you're not fluent in a language. And if you don't have English to fall back on, or there isn't a big community of English speakers, and you are this outgoing type, it might not be a good lifestyle or a good situation for you to be in.
And for the first few months, you might be forced into conversations where basically all you can say is, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah. Okay, and these might seem like negative things regarding language, but there is a flip side to this, and that is, we can't think of a better place to learn a new language, specifically Spanish, than Mexico. And we've said this in so many videos, but it's so true, it's worth saying again. Mexicans are so patient and so understanding as we've tried to learn the language here, and we've heard on dozens and dozens of occasions that they're absolutely tickled when you're trying to learn the language, and even if you're sucking at it, they seem to appreciate more that you're trying instead of just expecting that people will speak English. The next thing is sort of regarding preconceived notions and overgeneralizations, and what we mean by that is something like, will I like Mexico, yes or no? Or even if you get more specific, would I like Guadalajara, yes or no? And think about any city that you've ever been to or lived in at all. Could you actually say, am I going to like this, yes or no? Not really. I mean, you could say, I would like this neighborhood, yes or no, or things like that, because it's so much more specific than that. It's like down to the neighborhood. It could be a college town. It could be a part of town that's dirty or polluted or clean or whatever it is. So I think one of the bad things you could do is think that one place is going to be exactly like XYZ. And so that's having these overgeneralizations about what a place is or isn't going to be like, and then sort of like putting yourself in that box, which we sort of think is going to set yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah, guys, we've traveled to quite a few cities in a number of states in Mexico, and every place is so much different, whether you're talking about the climate, the landscape, is it on a beach, is it in the mountains?
The language, the dialect, the words, anything like this. And seriously, we've been guilty of this too, so this is not like pointing fingers like, oh, everybody else almost overgeneralizes. We have done it too. We've overgeneralized. We've thought we're going to love this city because it's going to be this and this and this and this, and just, yeah, I mean, have reasonable expectations, have an open mind. That'll help a lot.
If you do a whole bunch of research and then you're like, yes, I think I want to move there, do it, but also have that in your mind that, hey, not everything may be as I think it's going to be, because it's not. It's not going to be that way. Thanks for watching up to this point. We'll get right back to it, but if you're liking the information so far, give it a thumbs up.
And consider subscribing to our channel if you want to see more videos that we're putting out here in Mexico about our adventures and shenanigans and embarrassing moments in Spanish and all that jazz. And go on that bell so you get notified every time we put out a new video about said adventures and shenanigans in Mexico. So back to it. Another thing that we think you should consider before moving to Mexico is income sources, jobs, and money in regards to what you're doing for work.
We hear a lot of people asking like, hey, what kind of job can I get there? How much is it going to pay? What do people do that are traveling there or move there? What do they do for an income?
So one common way to make money here is by teaching English online. And many people do that, but there are other jobs where if you're earning money from a Mexican source, for instance, you need temporary or permanent residency. So that might be extra hoops that you have to jump through. You have to prove income and different things like that. The other thing that we wanted to mention, because we don't want to give anyone the wrong idea about this, is having a YouTube channel. And I'm sure there are people out there who, like me, I would have looked at our channel, at the way it looks right now and the amount of views we get per video and things like that, and thought, oh my gosh, they're probably living the high life, celebrities, YouTube stars, something like that. And now I think, what a joke. We are not living the high life. We are not making boatloads of money. YouTube has paid us zero. Nothing for ads, nothing for making the videos, nothing for the hundreds of hours that we put in. Absolutely nothing. So I think the lesson here is go in with a backup plan, or Jordan likes to say,
we came here, we quit our careers. We quit the money, we left the money we were making in Phoenix and came here and started a YouTube channel from scratch, having never been on camera before, never filmed anything, never edited anything, didn't know a darn thing about it, but we wanted to build up multiple income sources, and I think that's what's important for me, at least.
That's what Jordan says. Multiple income sources is what I was thinking you were going to say. So yeah, I mean, and sort of be willing to roll with the punches, have a backup plan, have multiple income sources, or just think, if it doesn't go the way I think it's going to go, is that going to be okay? And if not, maybe a little bit more planning. And on a totally way more fun note, another thing is diversity. If you have been looking at any videos online or seeing pictures of Mexico and the different things it has to offer, hot damn, there's a lot here. It is way more diverse than we ever imagined.
Hot damn!
Damn!
But yeah, it's awesome. The country has so much to offer. The culture, the food, the people, the nature. It's an amazing place.
Even in a city like Guadalajara, where we might have thought that it was just big city life with buildings and working folk and things like that, but here we are in Parque Metropolitano, which is a humongous park filled with lots of trees and animals and adorable little squirrels. That just goes to show you that even a city that you might have an idea of, it's probably way more diverse than you ever imagined.
So this video isn't to discourage you from moving here. In fact, if you think you can make it happen, we would highly encourage it. But it's more so to set realistic expectations.
Yeah, we want to be real with you guys, and if our channel ever gives, we hope our channel would never give someone the impression that it's all rainbows and sunshine, because life in general, any place, any country, any city, anywhere, it's not like that. So yeah, we get some flack for that sometimes because people take our being realistic as being negative or complaining, but we just don't want to do a disservice by making it seem like everything is perfect in this country.
And we had watched a lot of videos before coming here, and we kind of felt a little deceived. Like,
yeah, as if the only things that were ever talked about were those golden shiny things, when...
And there are a lot of them, but...
Yes, absolutely. But that's just not all there is to it. It's not the whole side of the story. And the next thing we're going to talk about, which we sort of touched on at the very beginning of this video, is personal preferences and individual tastes. As in, it would be hard for someone who's a solid meat eater to tell someone who's a vegan, oh, I love this city, the food here is great, it's the best food I've ever had in the world, every restaurant is my favorite restaurant ever. I mean, yeah, you're talking to someone who doesn't eat meat, so that's kind of hard. You have to take into account that other people's preferences and what they find is really cool may not be what you find is really cool, and vice versa. So, and the other part of that is, for instance, with us, we came to Mexico thinking neither of us have ever lived by the beach. I am born and raised in Arizona, lived there my entire life. Like, I want to live by a beach. I never have. I want to do it. That's where we're going to go. That's where we're going to end up in Mexico. And where the heck are we now? Smack dab in the middle of Mexico, nowhere near a beach. Sort of just keep your mind open, because maybe you think you want to end up on a beach or something, but what's better for you is mainland. Inland? In mainland.
But yeah, so there's personal preferences that you may want. So like, do you want a colonial town? Is the weather key for you? Do you want it really temperate, like nice climate all year round? Do you want to live by the beach? So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when it comes to that.
And we had sort of this list of, these are things we must have, these are things that are nice to have, and these are things that are not important. For instance, air conditioning. We said that is a must-have. We must have air conditioning wherever we live. And again, where are we living now? Somewhere without air conditioning. And it's fine.
So
most
yeah,
days.
Our must-haves were be on a beach, have air conditioning, and we have neither. So
yep. Right
yeah.
back to the roll with the punches.
So your preferences change, or at least ours did.
Before we give our grand big piece of advice to you guys, we're going to cover one more thing, and that may be one of the biggest things. It's culture. The culture of Mexico. I would say if you can avoid it, if you can try to get yourself in a different mindset, don't come here thinking that it's going to be exactly like where you are. You're hoping that it's exactly like where you're living right now, but just in a different place where people are speaking Spanish, because even down to the littlest tasks, it can be, you can experience a lot of culture shock.
Yeah, by culture shock, we don't just mean that things tend to happen at a slower pace here and people aren't so rushed. It goes a lot deeper than that. It goes into like every little task that you probably have on autopilot right now.
And that can kind of be exhausting, figuring out laundry, where to get your water, how to change your phone plan. I mean, these are things that we've been showing you guys in videos because we're hoping they'll be useful for anyone who's considering moving here or traveling here or just wanting to know more about Mexico. No, it's not going to be like what you're used to, even if it's a tourist town, which is probably going to be less of a culture shock, but still a culture shock, down to the smallest details that you wouldn't even expect. Something that we can remember from when we first got to Mexico was we would go to a restaurant and they would welcome us in, but we genuinely weren't sure, should we seat ourselves? Are they going to seat us? Did they run off to the back of the restaurant to go get the hostess? And yes, indeed, you just most of the time seat yourself wherever you want in a restaurant. But it's little things like that that can be make you feel so like a fish out of water. Do I just stand here? Are they going to take me? And then you don't really know how to ask sometimes, or you get nervous and forget the words on how to ask. So that's one example. Another one is
getting gas. Another thing that is just pretty much your average task that you don't even have to think about in the US or Canada or wherever you're used to doing it. Here it's completely different. Someone else fills it up for you.
Yeah, even though we knew someone was going to fill it up for us, and we knew there's certain scams, like make sure they zero it out so they're not trying to charge you more or put in less gas and pocket the rest or something. But even our first time, we looked like freaking idiots because the guy asked us something in Spanish, how much do you want or whatever.
Or what kind we wanted, whether it was premium or regular, and we said,
we're just staring at each other like idiots, and he's like, fill her up? In English, thankfully.
Yeah.
Down to the littlest things, and then it gets you frazzled, and I don't know. So culture is a big one. It's very big, and this seriously goes back to that have an open mind thing, because if you don't, it's going to overwhelm you, and you might not like Mexico as much because of it. But that's not a reason not to come. It's just something you have to remember.
I don't feel like we've really done the culture one justice, because I think this is the biggest issue, yet we've almost spent the least amount of time on it.
Well, if that says anything, we've been here 4 or 5 months, and yes, every day is a new day and a new challenge and new parts of the culture that we have to get used to, but it's not impossible, and it's nothing that made us want to go crying and running back to the US or anything. We're talking about this more, something that occurred to us, and that is, before we came to Mexico, we started doing a lot of traveling. And every place we went, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is so different and terrible than the US. It was just like, oh, this is different than we're used to. Okay, that's how they do it here. And so the more that happened, the less things were shocking, and the more they were just like, oh, okay.
Yes.
That's just how it is.
So the more you've traveled around, the easier it's probably going to be for you to adapt. Whereas if you've lived in the same place your entire life, then it might be much more difficult for you.
We're just gonna go up and down escalators because it's awkward to walk with a camera in the wall. Up, down, up, down.
How many is this now? Instead of thinking about it like things are bad or good the way they're done and just thinking like, yeah, it's different, then we think you're gonna get by and adapt a lot more easily.
I really don't like walking around a mall with a camera. Everyone's staring.
You don't like the attention?
No. Action. Jordan, if you were going to give someone one piece or one few pieces of advice,
One few.
what would you tell them?
You know, before coming here, we had some places that we wanted to go. And there were places that we thought we really were going to like, but we didn't really end up liking them. And then there was like Guadalajara that we didn't think we would like that much, and now we're living here. So maybe this is just us not really knowing what we want, and maybe you have more experience in life and you really know exactly what you want. Well, in that case, this advice might not really apply to you, but if I had to give a piece of advice, it'd probably be pick out a few places that you've done research on and you think you're going to like, and visit those places if at all possible. Maybe save up a little bit of money and hopefully have a month or two to travel around and visit them and stay in each one for at least a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty much the best way you can find out whether you will or will not like a place, is just go there, interact with people, go off the beaten path, don't just go to the TripAdvisor places. And also, I would say, if you were asking me this question, are you asking me this question?
What piece of advice would you give to someone after having the experience traveling through Mexico?
I would say,
Action.
I'd say in addition to looking up all of the normal research that you might do, blogs, Facebook groups, YouTube videos. So my advice would be that for every positive video or article or Facebook comment or something you see, try to look at any of the negative that might come up. That way, at least you have a very realistic picture of what the place might be like, and if there aren't any things that you should be looking out for, because it's pretty easy to have those rose-colored glasses on when you're so excited about going to a new place that you're not looking at the things that maybe would start to bug you after a while. And this is true of any country, any state, anywhere. So we realize that this may not have totally answered your question, and it might not have given you a crystal clear picture of should you move to Mexico, but what we hope this did was get you thinking and sort of give you all of the details and the questions and the considerations that we wish we had before coming here. Now, with that said, we absolutely regret nothing. Looking back, we just think we wish we did it sooner. But at the same time, we may have skipped some cities, we may have had more realistic expectations if we had thought about this stuff ahead of time, or if somebody had told us this. So,
if you like this video
and you appreciate the information, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel to see these videos that we are putting out every day here in Mexico. And good gong that bell if you want to get notified the next time we put out a new video and be the very first to see it. See you in the next one.